It's time for part 2 of our celebration of the New York Giants' 100th season playing football. And this is a great season coming up in 2024, but we're going back in time 100 years ago to talk with Alan March, the great-grandson of Dr. Harry March, who in part 1 we found out was sort of one of the innovators that introduced Joe Carr to Tim Mara, who ended up being the first owner, and the Mara family still owns the Giants. And we go and continue on into that first season and how it went for the G-Men.
This is the Pigskin Daily History Dispatch, a podcast that covers the anniversaries of American football events throughout history. Your host, Darren Hayes, is podcasting from America's North Shore to bring you the memories of the gridiron, one day at a time.
Mara hired Harry, and the New York Giants were born. That was May 1925. By September of that year, Harry had put together a team of collegiate all-stars led by Bob Falwell. Falwell had been a coach most recently with Navy. I think he'd been with Washington and Jefferson. He had always had successes. He was well known for his own athletic prowess. So he gets a top-name coach. He's recruiting top-name stars, including Dr. Joe Alexander of Syracuse, who was an incredible lineman, Century Milstead, Gene Vidal, Lieutenant Gene Vidal, who had played for Army. And actually, he was an assistant football coach at Army when Harry's son Ken was at West Point. He's getting all these, Bob Nasty Nash. He gets all these all-stars, well-known guys. He knows these big names are going to draw in fans. They're going to sell tickets. Puts them together, and by September 1925, they have a meeting at the Alamac Hotel. It's a luncheon. He brings in all the newsies, and they announce the New York All-Collegians, better known as the Giants. And Harry says, we're going to give them a good, clean, hard type of football that New Yorkers are going to enjoy. They release the schedule. It's a 16-game schedule. And the last 2 games, the last one in town, all the home games are going to be played at the Polo Grounds, are played with the Chicago Bears. That's great. 2 big cities. So meanwhile, as Harry's building the Giants, he still needs a big name. He actually hires Jim Thorpe by 1925. Thorpe is really past his prime, but everybody knows him. Thorpe had won gold medals in the Olympics. He had been a phenom in college ball with Carlisle and with the Canton Bulldogs of the teens into about 1920 or so. He was a big name draw, but it was not a good player anymore. Within a month of being with the Giants, Harry released Thorpe. It was a good thing. While it was never said, it is supposed that Thorpe was drinking at the time, and Harry did not tolerate drinking. So he let go of Jim Thorpe, the world's greatest athlete, but he had a great team and he had a great coach. So they begin their campaign. The first game was in Connecticut against New Britain, and I think they won. Next game, they played a home and away pair of games with the Frankfurt Yellow Jackets. Frankfurt is near Philadelphia, strong club team, and they get a big draw. But as the season is progressing, Harry's needing more money. He needs to sell tickets. He needs to print programs. He needs to sell advertising. But the big draw in 1925 is Red Grange, Harold Red Grange of Illinois. Rumors were going rampant that Grange was being recruited by some NFL teams, including the Giants. In newspaper articles, they were asking, sports writers were asking Harry about that. He says, nope, we cannot touch him. That's against the rules. Shortly after Grange's last game for Illinois, though, it gets made public. He is signing with the Bears. George Halas violated the league rules, or kind of went around it. Grange was no longer a college man because he dropped out. So technically, he did not violate the letter of the law, but he certainly violated the spirit of it. However, Grange was now playing for the Bears. the Bears were on the Giants' schedule for December 6th. It was going to be the last home game for the New York Giants. December 6th, 1925, the close of their inaugural year, the Giants are about $40,000 in the red. And yet all of New York is coming to see Red Grange play the New York Giants. Seating at the Polo Grounds is about 70,000. Before game day, over 60,000 tickets had been sold. On game day, people were lined up. They had to call in extra policemen to manage the traffic. Inside the ballpark, Harry's experience as a promoter was showing. The field was festooned with bunting hanging from all the seating of the red and white and blue of the Giants and the colors of the Bears. They were handing out big long feathers for all the fans to shake, just like pom-poms in the stands. Harry took one and stuck it in the band of his hat, and as one reporter said, he was wearing it Indian style. He was going up and down the sidelines. This was a big game. Just a couple of weeks before, Joe Carr, president of the NFL, had undergone emergency appendicitis surgery. Newspaper article said, he's not going to make it. He's going to die. But by the time of this game, just a couple weeks later, after he had this emergency appendectomy, Joe Carr is attending this game because it's that big to the NFL. Red Grange in New York City is that big. He's on the sideline. He's on the bench with Harry and the team. So he's in attendance, 70,000 people. One reporter literally said some of the fans were up in the rafters. Grange did not play the whole game. As I recall, the Bears won 19. They scored 19, and I think the Giants scored about 7. So the Giants lost. People got to see Grange. I think he did score on an interception, ran it back for a touchdown. He had a pick 6, and the fans went wild. But the big winner was Grange. He got a ton of money. His agent, C.C. Pyle, known as Cash and Carry Pyle, got a ton of money. But also the Giants. That one game put the Giants in the black for the year. So Tim Mara was willing to keep writing those checks that Harry needed, and took him on to the next season. Actually, the Giants traveled to Chicago for a follow-up game in Chicago, and they played there too. The inaugural season was successful. The Giants won 1-8. I think they're about 8-4-1 that season, so that's a pretty good start.
Well, that concludes the story of the Giants' first season with Alan March. We thank Alan and for telling us all about his great-grandfather's experiences in the New York Giants in their first season. But we're not done celebrating the New York Giants' first 100 years. We got plenty more to come, so tune back next time when we celebrate the NYG 100 in part 3 of this series on the New York Giants. Peeking up at the clock, the time's running down. We're going to go into victory formation, take a knee, and let this baby run out. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow for the next podcast. We invite you to check out our website, pigskindispatch.com, not only to see the daily football history, but to experience positive football with our many articles on the good people of the game, as well as our own football comic strip, Cleat Marks Comics. Pigskindispatch.com is also on social media outlets, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and don't forget the Pigskin Dispatch YouTube channel to get all of your positive football news and history. Special thanks to the talents of Mike and Gene Monroe, as well as Jason Neff for letting us use their music during our podcast.
This podcast is part of the Sports History Network, your headquarters for the yesteryear of your favorite sport. You can learn more at sportshistorynetwork.com.